Okay.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, mate. So we started having a chit chat about everyday stuff with Stable Warrior. In particular, we were talking about status loss as a massive contributing factor to suicide in general.
Mhm.
And naturally, I think that then evolved into a conversation around existentialism or spiritualism or the essence of human experience, what happens when we die, and yeah, and you said, well, we should be recording this, so here we are, and we both came across a quote, or at least the essence of this quote recently, and Carl Jung once said that religion is the protection against God, and what he means by that is it's a mechanism that humans have contrived over centuries by which to contain the fullness and the totality of God energy or God itself. Because wiser people than us, I think, realize that in order for our meat suits to process the magnitude of the entirety of the universe, we've got to have some ability to contain it, lest it completely expands our awareness so rapidly. I think that it would literally short circuit the meat suit and cause system shutdown, right? And so we're left with this old legacy relationship to God, and with in a way that it is far away enough. God is far away enough that its brilliance doesn't short circuit our meat suit.
Mhm.
Whereas I believe when we were like, hunter gatherers, say, God was so close to us and it came to us through, and hear me out on this, is a theory I have, and there's a few others out there that have it. Joe Rogan's one of them. Not comparing myself to Joe Rogan, just saying. But that 20,000 years ago, there was no light pollution, there was no electricity, so there was no light pollution, artificial light pollution. So the heavenly bodies, the skies, were so bright, like the Milky Way was like, whoa! It caused awe in our soul. It stirred us so much that we created things like pyramids around the world aligned to these celestial bodies. We were so inspired by it that it moved us. It made us humble. It made
Mhm.
us, our consciousness go, wow, there's something greater than us out there. It transcended us from our meat suits. And yet now, modernity, we can never see that sky anymore unless you go to somewhere like Hawaii, the observatories, where we rise above the light pollution. But we don't have that relationship, that proximity to God is not that close to us. It's further away. And so our consciousness also drifts away from it. And
Mhm.
we get grounded on planet Earth so much into the grind that we become human doings and not human beings, right? That's the
Mhm.
disconnect.
We're no longer looking up there for the the greatness or whatever it is because we're all here
Yeah, exactly.
doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why we get so obsessed with our positionality in these meat suits, our status, our careers, our purpose, our meaning making, that if you threaten that, it causes our systems to self implode and we have malfunctions.
Mhm.
Mental health illness is mainly as a result of these malfunctions. And it's incumbent upon us all, I believe, to have a relationship to the what I call the vertical axis of consciousness. Because we have two axes of consciousness as human beings. We have the earthbound horizontal line, which means as an animal that we are, we can look around on the horizon and we can come back to the known spots on the horizon. and it seems familiar and manageable, and it's earthbound. Whereas that's not all we are. We're not just animals. We also have a vertical axis of consciousness. And this is where I think the spiritual angst in the human experience comes when we detach ourselves from that vertical axis of consciousness. And so we have a spiritual problem that's being addressed in a material way, and it's not working. Suicide is not being resolved right now. We don't understand it collectively enough, deeply enough. It's a spiritual problem. It's not a material problem. Because someone can materially have all the wealth in the world, right? All the security and all the rest of it. And yet, a drop in status, non-material as that may be, completely causes us to have a thought that, oh, I'm going to end it now because it's not worth living anymore. It's a spiritual problem. And so, obviously it's deep, obviously it's vast. And now religion has been poo-pooed as like this ancient medieval thing that we used to do as humans, that it's not relevant anymore, and therefore we're smarter now, and yet
Yeah.
we are killing ourselves more than ever, right? And I'm not saying that religion is the answer, by the way. I'm saying that religion gave us clues to this spiritual access of consciousness, and it contained it and delivered it to the masses in a way that was consumable in small doses once a week.
And so, in saying this, I want to say that, Saber Warrior is not a religious program, but we do
Not at all.
mention higher power, and it's whatever higher power means to you. It's not the word. The word God is not in the turn up to church on a Sunday aspect. It's whatever that higher power means to you, and it can present in many different ways. It can present, you know, standing, having your Bergen inspected, and getting you to question something. It can stand. You could get a blue whale moment. Just it could be something. You've got to be able to see it. I said, "What's that joke?" I said, "The guy that drowned out in the middle of the sea said, 'Don't worry, God will provide the answer.' I sent three boats. He
Yeah,
he's always there. There is always something
yeah,
there providing that gut feeling. We talked about that yesterday. Not going to the networking event because there was a gut feeling that I shouldn't go. Listening to
right,
that intuition. You know. So
right.
whatever it means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good distinction. Saber War is not a religious thing. And another distinction that's worth making as well, because language is everything. So my higher power is truth. Um, that's that's my higher power. It intimidates me sometimes. It makes me scared. And no matter what, if I lean into truth, it's always come good. It's always aligned me to where I'm supposed to be, and I get an inordinate sense of relief. But the distinction with language as our sword, really, that we can discern truths and falsehoods and whatnot. Religio, okay, is a human phenomena. Religio is a human behavior, a tendency for awe. That's what religio is. Religion is the material mechanisms and structures and hierarchies and organizations that we created in order to contain religio, the awe, right? So there's a distinction, because for me it's all about learning about the human experience, like learning us, what we are. Like that's me. That's my obsession. It's almost like I'm an alien in this body sometimes, and I'm like fascinated by this creature called human, right? And I'm just like so curious about it, and that drives me so much every day. And this idea of religio as a sense of awe that is in every human being. It's a human trait, right? Doesn't matter where you come from. We all have it. And it's what's driven us to create temples all around the world, structures, to have symbols like La Virgen de Guadalupe. You know, you got the Virgin symbol here going on. Mother as the
Hmm.
great
Hmm.
chaos energy, bird holding the sun, right? uh, Individuality, the born of the creation of self-awareness, all the rest of it. It's just symbols of the same thing I'm talking about, this awe, right? And so people get hung up a little bit with religion. Oh, we don't need religion, or that nonsense. People believe it actually happened, and all the rest of it. But you can't escape it. You look at a football. You look at a football crowd, right? At a derby of any team, you watch, observe the humans in that crowd being moved by something. That is
Hmm.
religio. That right there is religio. It's like, oh, what is this belonging? What is this? You know?
and and also you've got 11 football players on each side, uh,
Yeah,
so there's
exactly.
that number on there
Numerology.
as well.
Yeah,
So
good way to look. Yeah,
you and football as well. It's there's so much passion, raw passion in that as well. It's almost comparable to the deep south gospel churches, how animated they get running around the stadium, and how I mean, and look at football violence as well. They believe in this so much that they kiss it, they love it, they cherish it, they fight for it. They take
yeah,
on the opposing team because they don't wear the same colours.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
it's
I
tribal.
mean, it's that's tribal. That's the word. That's the word. It harkens back to our ancestry of these tribalism, and I said to you earlier that tribalism is rooted in fear. And what is the root of that fear? Where's that fear coming from? The fear of survival, the fear of death, right? And that is because
Resource loss of.
loss of resources, loss of companionship, loss of belonging, and that fear is biological. It's in all of us actually. And I always have this analogy in the back of my head that when the apocalypse kicks off, right? Zombie apocalypse, right? And we're all and the power grid goes off. No electricity, right? For 6 months. You watch how quickly we descend back into tribalism, right? And it's
Three
there.
days.
Yeah, I think so. It's there.
Yeah.
Look at the threat, the fear of death that COVID, was articulated in a way that created such fear that we immediately tribalized into, we were separated and divided, and it was just like vax, unvax, immediately we went tribal, immediately, right?
Hmm.
And so if you don't have a grasp of your horizontal consciousness, i.e., your animal first behaviors, if you don't have a relationship to that, as much as you don't have a relationship to your vertical axis of consciousness, which is your higher dimensions of spirit, like there is a soul in you having a human experience right now that transcends the meat suit and all its trivialities for survival and all the rest of it, right? It transcends that completely. And if you don't have access to that, then you are literally just stuck in the mud and the misery of the survival game. And a lot of people are stuck in that survival game. And they're stuck in self importance. They're stuck in positionality of left wing, right wing, black, white, all that. The triviality. They're stuck.
iPhone, Android.
Just stuck. Exactly. You name it. And it's iPhone, by the way, if anyone's curious. But anyway, just you get my point. And we got to have a balance of the both, and that to me is the symbol of the cross, and we see
Yeah.
through symbols, and that's what the symbol of the cross represents to me: that
Mm.
harmony of the higher transcendent states and the earthbound nature of us animals.
Let's stay with symbols for a second.
Yeah.
What does the Saber Warrior shield represent for you? That's a symbol.
Hmm.
You know what?
Interesting. Yeah.
Break that down.
All right. I see that as the shield. The best analogy for a shield for me, or the use of a shield, or how a shield really comes into its own, is in the hoplites of Greece, and how the shields were designed to protect the man to the left of you, with a gap in it for your spear to come through with your right hand. So the shield was never for you; it was for your brother. And the strength of the unit was dependent on that philosophy being passed on. So I didn't have to worry about protecting me, because guess what? The shield of my brother was protecting me, right? So that's the first thing that comes through to me as the shield. It's not for me, it's for you. And I don't get
Service.
mine. I don't get mine until you get yours. Um, so that's the first thing that comes through with the shield. And I would say that after that, the logo of Saber Warrior is more of a beacon of commonly understood symbology that will attract who we want to attract. So, belonging, medals, recognition, valor, units, service.
Mm-hmm.
These are all flares that people will see, identify with, and come to us. But actually, what they'll learn very quickly is to transcend the division of, country, unit, war stories. We transcend that very quickly, because that's ultimately stuckness, right?
Yeah.
So
Because but you enter in carrying all of those elements,
correct, yeah,
and you leave them behind. You
yeah,
leave it on the table.
and I
Yeah.
think that's the nature of symbols. It's not so much if you get stuck on the symbol, that's you've got stuck at the first layer. But the symbols are not designed like that. The symbols are designed to look through them to a deeper meaning that's often hidden.
Mm.
But symbology is the signpost. Symbology is like the flare that goes up and it catches your eye, and then you move through it, and then you experience what it is, to the depth of it, right? To experience the depth of it, and that's what
Mm.
we're meaning making monkeys, and symbology has been with us forever, right? Um, there's so much hidden meaning, for example, in pyramids. Just the structure of pyramids alone, oh my god, it means so much, right? It's a very deep topic, but that's the power of a good symbol.
Yeah. I mean, it's something for me. I've spent the last sort of 24 hours designing our exhibition pack, and the pop-ups, and getting the stand right, and what do we have up on the front, what do we need to have up there, and what I sent you was like iteration 5 or 6 to get to that point. The first one was like dump of everything on there. We need that on there. We need this on there. We need that on there. And it was like you couldn't see the background from all of these things on there. And I was like, well, simplify it. What do we need? Just that one thing, square in the middle, you know, just an island, just sat in the middle to get marooned on, wash up and become, you know, the new you.